Once upon a time there was a hatmaker by the name of Alois, and many would come from far and wide to pour admiration on his hats. Since everyone wanted to buy his stunning hats, he built a hat factory, and so Alois the hatmaker became Alois the millionaire. His success did not go unnoticed, and people imitated his business idea. Alois began to groan and croak under the pressure of competition. But then Alois had an epiphany. 20 years ago, he married his Imelda because she had the reputation of being the most beautiful woman in all of the country. He thought, I need my hats to have the same outstanding reputation. So he went and told everybody that the one and only original Alois was unique and the most beautiful. A brand was born. One day there were so many other hat makers that Alois found it difficult to find masters of hat making for his factory. The competition for good personnel was getting harder and harder. If I succeeded the first time around, surely it will work out a second time, thought Alois to himself. Why not make my factory a brand in the same way I did it with my hats? So Alois summoned the finest master hat makers and apprentices, explaining to them that not only were Alois hats the original, but his hat factory too. Only here could they practice their art and live like king craftsmen. Like a shot, the best hat makers from far and wide came to work for Alois the hatmaker. And employer branding was born. Actually, everything was perfect. Thanks to Alois' astute entrepreneurial spirit, they had turned their hat-making factory into one of the country's finest. Still, Alois worried about not finding qualified apprentices for his company. There were fewer and fewer young people in the area and more factories. Although his company had a very good reputation, it was virtually unknown among the younger generation. Once a week, Imelda met other wives at the weekly market. She couldn't stop thinking about her husband's concerns. As she stood in front of the stand of the portly sausage seller, she noticed a sign advertising his fresh products. And it was working. The line in front of the stand grew longer and longer. Why not make a sign for apprentices and put it in a very busy place? How about printing it, turning it into a newspaper ad, and making a big sign out of it? Alois was immediately taken by the idea. Now people who lived far away would hear about his factory as well. This even caught the attention of the sausage seller. His nephew was looking for an apprenticeship. On the first of the following month, he began work at Alois' factory. It was the birth of human resources marketing. Imelda had triggered a proper flood of applications through the campaign. She proudly recounted the story. On the sausage seller's sign, there wasn't just the price for 2 black pudding sausages, it also said that they were freshly made and a real delicacy. She wanted her sign to say the same. An apprenticeship with Alois isn't just a way to make a living. It also teaches a skilled trade with passion for detail, and this at the highest level, because Alois is the best hatter in the entire country. And the idea worked. Soon the first applicants were lining up. They were interested, motivated and enthusiastic about the prospects of such a good position. And since Alois was so busy overseeing work in the factory, Imelda talked to them. She listened to them, explained charmingly how Alois made hats, and saw who was most skilled of all the candidates. Before long, Alois once again had the best hatters in the whole country. That's the end of our story. For that's how recruiting came about.